yeah, that's a cool game and all, but can you make a multiplayer FPS?
Yes, Daddy. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Daddy.
J is for
Just don't fucking shoot me, please! Tactical nuke incoming!
So to make a good multiplayer game, you need to choose a game engine or at least a programming language. And this is a very important step, because if you fuck up this, you will spend much more time on the development than you want. So that's why I choose Unity. So the first step was to create the player. Or the map. So the first step was to create the map, and then I made a player, which is a cube. And right after I started to work on the player controller, and with these 3 lines I implemented my first ever character controller. But does it work? No. Does it worth it? No, not really. So after a small fix, the controller started to work as expected. And if you press the arrow keys, the cube can go to 4 directions. But since my eyes are fucking hurt because of these nice colors, I added a new texture to the map, which seems much better, even though it doesn't have any point. And you may also notice that the map doesn't have any significance either, because there is no gravity applied to our player. So as I enhance the controller script further, we can now use the mouse for the rotation, we can jump, and we have gravity. So we have finished with 2 bullet points. The game is first person, but not yet. So to adapt the shooting, I from the Unity Asset Store, and I chose this weapon, so let's hop to Unity and see how it looks like. So now the cube has a weapon, but we still need to adapt the shooting part. Thus I added 3 enemies, and I implemented the shooting as well. And actually the white line, what you can see is where we are aiming to. And if the color changes to red, then it gives us feedback that we are aiming at an enemy. And if we shoot, we kill it, just like in any FPS game. But why do we need the red and the white lines though? You may ask, and this is only to help debugging, thus it doesn't have any function to the gameplay. And at the moment it's a bit hard to aim because we don't have any crosshairs, so I added one. And I also made an animation for the pistol. And I also added a recoil to it and made a muzzle flash effect with the Unity particle system. But since the game still looks kinda shit, I decided to improve the graphics because my eyes are still fucking hurt. So I started to improve the lighting because the shady parts looked completely dark. And I also wasn't so satisfied with the colors. Nevertheless, I wanted to make it more intense. Or what's the word for that? Thus I converted the project to URP, and I also added some post-processing effects. And this is the part of the video where I can give myself a virtual high five, and I can say that I'm quite satisfied with the result. It is totally worth to spend like 5 hours just to record this 20-second scene. So just watch it a bit more.
Is there anybody in here?
No! So because I didn't really know where the player's face is, because it's a fucking cube, I created these glasses in Blender.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
So here is a small gameplay how you can see the enemy after this very important improvement. So the next step was that I started to work on the map, and I downloaded DualWielded in Unity and
now what?
So yeah, after literally staring the monitor for 30 minutes, I started to looking for tutorials, but each of them showed me the same steps and not the real value, how to create a good FPS map. So there was no other choice. I opened Blender, and as the first attempt I made this bow tie.
Bow ties are cool.
So after many attempts, which are not even worth to mention, finally I came up with an idea which was a bit different. Actually I made a maze map that I put into Unity, and actually it's not that bad. Not that bad. I hate it as fuck. So I rather looked for some reference images to get the basic idea of what I really want to do. And what I really liked are those maps which are floating. So you can fall off and suffer in hell. But further immersed in the subject, I began to think about the textures and the style. And what I like the most are these default textures. Or what is it called? So I was thinking that I can make some platforms which are on different levels, and you can walk to the other platforms using a bridge or a stair. And compared to how long it took to come up with the idea, it was a kind of fast process to make this map. And as I started to test it, I really liked the idea that you need to pay attention to not fall off, while you also need to pay attention to shoot the enemy. This can be much fun. And meanwhile I was thinking about the next feature, I made this headband.
Hey yo, what the?
My friends, I Me? Sit down. Let me show you. Destructible environment. Gentlemen. My favorite verse together. Speaking of the unnecessary features, when you shoot a player, then a small force will be applied to it and it will push back a bit, and when the player dies, it disappears. But I also added another idea, and instead of disappearing, it can break into pieces, but since it was a bit complicated, I rather jumped into another function. So for the multiplayer part, I downloaded this asset and I read the documentation. And maybe it's only me, but when I tried to change something, it was a really painful process, or in the worst case, it didn't even work. And just to show you an example, for the object synchronization, you need to do two tasks. Very simple. First, you need to add two scripts to the objects, the photon transform view and the photon view. And then you need to put the object to the resources folder. And that's all. But does it work? But as a developer, this happens very often that something doesn't work, so I searched for this issue and I found the same exact thing, and this guy even answered for his own question.
Wow, I'm stupid. I just forgot to add the photon transform view to each child.
Come on, who the fuck didn't pay attention? It's me. It's me.
Looks like I was mistaken.
But don't go that far, let's start with the beginning of the journey. So as the first step, I just made it possible to join to the server. And at this point, both players use the same controller, so when I moved the mouse or shot, both of them did the same. But the real question is that, what the fuck happened with the sunglasses? So if I use the sunglasses, the FPS view looks like this. And this is a bit annoying, not gonna lie. Anyway, I could implement the real multiplayer function, and with one client I can control one player, and with the other client I can control the other player, totally separated. Great job. Moving forward, I added 12 spam points, so when the player dies, he will respawn at one of them, which will be chosen randomly. But let's see a gameplay, because the players can join the server and kill each other, since I already implemented this feature when I read the documentation. But some magic is happening here, because I never shared this game with anyone. Maybe I am them, and they are me. Anyway, thank you guys that you helped me test the game. It was a pleasure to work with myself, really appreciate. But moving forward, I found an issue where the first player cannot kill the second one until the second kills the first one. And this is kind of weird because it comes randomly and I don't really know why does it work like this. But since me, I and myself were the only testers, I can tell you that nobody ever complained about this issue. But each of us has agreed that I need to fix the sunglasses, because nobody will ever play this game if it doesn't work. Even me. So at least I fixed that.
Is there any question? No? Why I'm here? It's a good question because thank you very much.